What's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also hit that bell notification to be notified whenever I drop new content. All right. And also support the channel. Hit that like button. All right. So let's get right into it. The other day, I made a video basically breaking down all of Terrence Bud Crawford's options. We heard the rumors of there being talks of finalizing a Manny Pacquiao fight. Bob Arum came out and said that he's going to be announcing a major pay-per-view involving Terrence Bud Crawford. Right away, when you say the word major, we think Manny Pacquiao. Since then, we've just been hearing rumors that the fight has been secured for June 5th date out in Abu Dhabi. Okay, this is not the first time we've heard these rumors. These have been rumors for months. All right, but a lot of people with real, I guess it's coming out by a lot of sources, credible sources now. But no one is actually saying it's official. People are just pumping it. I think it's real. I hope it's real, but you just never know. I usually don't cover anything unless it's legit, But it's been a couple of days and it seems like everyone is talking about this fight. And there's been a few other announcements which I will do other videos on. Even though I did the video the other day, I want to talk strictly about Manny Pacquiao and how I view this fight. This is not going to be a breakdown video, but I am going to talk about a few key things if they were to actually fight. So I knew, and this is one of the things that I brought up in the other video, if Pacquiao is really truly going to be Bud's opponent, he's going to control. Obviously, he's a star of the two. Obviously, he's going to get the bulk of the purse. I don't know how much of a bulk, I did read one of the things I saw was 80-20 for Pacquiao, which sounds insane. But if you're going to secure a fight with that guy, you have to agree with his terms. Plus, you got to also understand that Bud is he's a true threat. No one's going to fight Terrence Bud Crawford for a low amount unless they're on the come up. If it's going to be a Spence fight, if it's going to be a Pacquiao fight, you got to understand that these guys are going to want to get paid because there's a lot of risk involved with that. This is why, we heard that Pacquiao wants $40 million to take this fight. Yes, Pacquiao is a warrior, but Pacquiao is a businessman as well. All right. I think some of the hardcore fans tend to forget that he is a businessman as well. Okay. He's not going to be taking fights with really good fighters without securing the bag, and there's levels. Yes, Keith Thurman, who at the time it still is, if we're looking at his resume and looking at what he's done throughout his career, it's been a very successful welterweight. He's done a lot at welterweight, but it's all about timing. And even though Pacquiao did beat Keith Thurman, he beat Keith Thurman coming off of a fight where he didn't look so good, didn't look like he was in his prime, basically. Terrence Bud Crawford hasn't really shown many chinks in his armor. He hasn't shown that he's falling off, coming off of this quick knockout he had over Kell Brook. All right, so there's a lot of risk in this fight here. You're fighting an undefeated Terrence Bud Crawford who has a lot of momentum going. There's no, he's not injury prone. He's not coming off of a loss. He didn't almost get stopped. This is a Terrence Bud Crawford who's hot right now. Yes, he's approaching his mid-30s, so that may be a factor for future fights, but at the end of the day, he is fighting a 42-year-old Pacquiao that hasn't fought in 2 years. And even at the time that Keith Thurman fought Manny Pacquiao, A lot of people felt that Keith Thurman was going to win the fight because Pacquiao was too old at that time. Keith Thurman had to be, what, 30, 31 years old when he fought Manny Pacquiao? You know? So he's fighting a super hot Terrence Bud Crawford right now. And if you're going to put yourself in that kind of danger, you're definitely going to secure the bag, especially with all the things that you accomplished, the successful pay-per-views that Manny Pacquiao has had over the years, and, you know, the stars that he's fought. I mean, this guy's been in there with with Floyd Mayweather, Miguel Cotto, you know what I'm saying, Marquez 4 times, Tim Bradley, you know, Margarito. He's been in there with a lot of stars. Ricky Hatton. He's been in there with Shane Mosley. He's been in there with so many fighters. So many fighters. Eric Morales. He's been in there with so many fighters at this point. So whoever he's going to get his shot at, and everybody wants this shot. And if there are haters out there, you know, I'm not tuning into too many people that are like, I haven't heard anyone's take on the pro PBC or pro Spence side yet. But I'm sure they're probably negative about it because the thing is, Spence wanted this fight as well. And that's one thing I wouldn't understand. If anyone is negative about it, why be negative about it? Because everybody wanted this fight. You know, the only people that couldn't get this fight are the fighters that were too big or too small. Everybody would want this fight at welterweight. Ugas wanted it. Spence wanted it. You know, Danny Garcia wanted it. Terrence Bud Crawford wanted it. Anybody would want a Manny Pacquiao fight. Period. Especially the fact that he is, well, now he's champion in recess by the WBA. But anybody, and I'll get back to that. Anybody would want an opportunity to fight Manny Pacquiao. Especially because he's actually still winning. He's being beaten. I mean, look at the younger welterweights he's beaten. Adrian Broner, Keith Thurman, Jesse Vargas, Chris Algieri when he beat him. You know, Chris Algieri was undefeated at that time. And I know as a welterweight, he didn't prove much, but he was coming off of one of his biggest wins, beating Provodnikov for the WBO strap at the time at 140. It was a good win. Everybody wanted this fight. So for people that's being negative about it, yes, would it have been better if Pacquiao fought him while he was younger? Yeah, but he's not in control of that. I would have wanted Pacquiao to fight him a few years ago when they both were still with top rank. Before Broner fought him, before Keith Thurman fought him, you know? Before even Jeff Horn fought him, you know? I would have loved for Pacquiao to fight Bud back then, but we didn't get it. We didn't get it, you know? And it's okay. It's okay. Let's talk about the WBA real quick. I'm really curious to see how that's going to work. You know, because they didn't like strip Pacquiao, but they made him champion in recess because of the fact that he hasn't fought in a certain amount of time, right? He didn't defend his title, all right? He went a good year and a half without defending his title. So earlier this year, they pretty much stripped him, but I don't know what that means because when he returns, and he's returning before Ugas actually has a fight, if he is to return to fight Bud. If he is to return to fight Bud before Ugas fights Spence or whatever way is going to go down, because remember, this is just a rumor still. I don't know if anything is official yet. So we're still waiting to see how this is going to all play out. But if they are going to fight and he's champion at recess, how does that work now if he is to return against fighting Bud Crawford? And he was a WBA champ and Bud is a WBO. This would be a unification match. How does that work out? Because Ugas has yet to defend his title. All right? He's a super champion now. So how does that work? I don't know. How should it work? Oh, well, you guys tell me in the comments. I think the obvious is let the champion who earned the title fight for the title. And that's nothing against Ugas. And I know the Spence people are going to be mad at me saying that because he got stripped for being inactive. Yes, but if he's coming back and he's fighting for this title before the newly nominated champion fights for it, or defends it, without actually having to win the champion, who should have the belt? Should it be the guy that earned the title? And I'm giving you my views that I've been consistent with. So I'm not saying it because it's Pacquiao. I've been consistent with it. I was consistent with it with the whole, Lomachenko, Devin Haney situation, Teofimo Lopez. I've been always consistent with. I want the guy to be the champion that I want to earn the title. Now, I understand that people get stripped because they're inactive. All right? They're inactive. Are the sanctioning bodies always are they always consistent with their rules? Absolutely not. So I'm one of those people like, listen, if they're not going to let Pacquiao or allow Pacquiao to defend his title, I understand. I'm very understanding of that. If Ugas and Spence are to do a unification for three of the belts, I understand. But if they just say, all right, you know what? We're going to make this a unification. All right. And Pacquiao's going to fight for his title because he's returning. Then I'm going to understand. All right. Moving on. The fight. All right. So if this fight is announced, I'm going to do a breakdown. I'm going to do a breakdown really quick. Really early. I'm not going to be waiting till the week of to do it. This is going to be one of those fights. The major fights I like talking about leading up to a fight. Manny Pacquiao. I mean, I've already expressed that I think Crawford is going to win. But I also believe that Manny Pacquiao, you can't really sleep on him. I know I was thinking of him and Keith Thurman. Up until I did that breakdown, there were times where I thought Keith Thurman could beat Pacquiao. I think there was times back then. Because remember, Manny Pacquiao has kind of been old for a while now. Right? If we really think about it, how many years have we been saying he's been old? We've been saying he's been old for a long time now. Most people thought he was done when he got knocked out by Marquez. I even remember when he came back to fight Brandon Rios. People were unsure of him then. I know it sounds silly now, but I'm telling you guys, if you were here, and I don't mean on YouTube, I mean if you just was watching boxing at the time, you would know that people were fearful of Manny Pacquiao because we didn't know how much he had left. A lot of people thought that both Floyd and Manny were old when they fought, but now we're in 2021. How many years ago that was? That was 6 years ago. The thing about Manny Pacquiao and these like freakish athletic fighters, him, you have Lomachenko, you have Roy Jones Jr., Mike Tyson, these guys just fought. And speaking of them, look at Mike Tyson. These unusually athletic fighters. Look how long they're able to go while still being very fast and being able to move a certain way. Yeah, Mike, Roy Jones, these guys can't sustain it for a long period of time. They don't have the conditioning that they have. Old age is going to come into play. But remember just watching Tyson, those training videos and him coming back when we knew, before we knew who the opponent was. We watched them and we was like, damn, how the hell Mike looks like the younger version of himself. Now he fought Roy Jones and Roy was using his legs and he was moving and keeping the distance and stuff. Like he wasn't letting Mike get his way. But when Mike is explosive, even in his 50s, he's still extremely explosive. He still can move much better than the average heavyweight. Most of these heavyweights, most of them, almost all of them, still can't move like the way Mike can in his 50s. And I think that is why Pacquiao was able to beat Keith Thurman. I was watching a little bit of the highlights yesterday, because now when they're talking about it now, I'm like, all right, I'm like looking into the Pacquiao fight. I was watching a little bit of the Keith Thurman highlights the other day, and I was watching, the first round when he drops Thurman. And it's like, Pacquiao, for some reason, and I said this, I swear I probably said this in my breakdown video when I did with him and Keith Thurman. Manny Pacquiao still shocks fighters with his speed and his power. He catches them off guard. Hopefully you secured enough rounds in order to, win the fight on the cards. Hopefully you secured enough, like, after you figure him out. I mean, that's what I mean. Because, and that fight with Thurman was close, because Thurman did rally, because I believe he rallied simply because Manny Pacquiao really slowed down. Like, he is an older man, so he's going to fight at a high level, but he's going to slow down at some point. But, I think Pacquiao, excuse me. I think Pacquiao, like the first 5 or so rounds, I think there was maybe, I don't remember which round, maybe the 4th, maybe the 5th, but there was a round in there where I'm like, I think Keith Thurman's going to get stopped. Now I don't think I covered the fight live. I don't think I did. But I remember watching it. And I was watching and I said midway through the fight, before the fight actually reversed, I said, I think Keith Thurman's going to get stopped because he's getting beat up pretty bad. I remember saying that as I was watching it. And I think it's just like, I don't think these fighters really can prepare for Pacquiao. Because he's a little guy. He doesn't have long arms. But the one thing I noticed about that straight left is that he throws it and he can be so far away from you, and it's really hard to gauge the distance with him, because in an instant he can leap in and touch you with that, right? And also he's very fast on top of that. So even though he's older and no, he's not as fast, no, he's not as powerful probably, he's still faster than most fighters. And that's why I was bringing up Mike Tyson. When you compare the two, like, these guys are so athletic, like, they're so fast and they're so explosive, they can tend to catch you off guard. I think if they are to fight, I think that Bud is going to struggle a little bit early. I don't think he's going to struggle as bad as Keith. I think Bud is just, I think he's just a much better boxer than Keith Thurman. All right. I just think his fundamentals on a different level. And again, at the same time, he's fresher than Keith Thurman right now. I know he's probably a little older. I didn't check the ages, but I'm not talking about age. I'm just talking about busy, being active, and just performing and still looking sharp. He's still sharp and everything. I think he's going to struggle against Pacquiao a little early, but I also believe that Crawford is a master at adjusting, and I think he's going to figure Pacquiao out at some point. But I'm interested and I'm curious to see how Bud is going to deal with him in the earlier rounds, because Bud, who I don't want to say that he's a slow starter, because he has improved over the years, especially after watching him like back at 135. I think he's improved over the years, but I'm curious to see how much he struggles earlier in the fight, And I'm also curious to say if he were to catch a real clean punch early, how he's going to react to it, I have Bud winning the fight. I think Bud is gonna win on points, but I think it's gonna be a very, very competitive fight. And it'd be great if, either way, I'm Team Bud. I definitely want Bud to win this one. But if Manny Pacquiao is to really let's just say, what if Pacquiao actually wins this fight? And I think it would be a bigger win than Keith Thurman. If he actually wins this fight, bro, like, how many generations of champions is that? Like, we would have to have a real discussion on how great of a win this would be if he were to win. Like, that is a lot of generations of champions. I think it's like Pacquiao started fighting in the 90s. Now, I don't know if he was a champion in the 90s. I have to go back and look. But man, if he were to win this fight, was he fighting in the 90s? I'm bugging. I can't remember now. Yeah, he was. He definitely was. If he were to win, that would be insane. You beating an undefeated, former undisputed champion, 3 weight division champion. Like, I know he beat Broner, who was a 4 weight division, but I'm talking about like legit titles against legit fighters. If you were to beat him, that would be nuts. I mean, an undisputed champion on top of that, that would be nuts. That would be insane. Like, wow. Anyway, I think I covered everything for now. We'll talk more about it if it is true. If they announce the fight officially and if signed and we have a real venue and all that, how we normally would do on this channel, definitely going to be doing a breakdown. Oh, I can't wait to break down that fight. Can't wait to break down, thoroughly go through the fights and really come out a way of how I see the fight going. It was real fun doing the Keith Thurman breakdown back then. It's one of my most viewed, it is my most viewed breakdown video I've ever done up to this point. I look forward to doing the Terrence Crawford one, man. All right. Again, I would have loved for it to be Spence. I've been talking about the Spence fight for the last few years. Also was lucky, I was looking for him to fight Sean Porter. I wanted him to fight Sean Porter, not mainly because of just it being Sean, but it was a great way to compare your performance with Sean as opposed, with all the other common opponents, like Keith Thurman. Sean been in there with everybody. It's Keith, Kell Brook, Danny Garcia, Errol Spence Jr. That would have been great for Bud, and if this fight doesn't happen with Pacquiao, I still want that fight. I still want the Spence fight. I still want all of these fights. But I know people talking about Virgil Ortiz. These are the fights that I would like to see. There's an order, and then my last video, check that out. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I put an order of what I would like to see and what fights that I think are believable. But if this fight is real, I look forward to discussing it some more with you guys. All right, I'm out of here. I got more videos coming. Make sure you subscribe. Peace.